All right, let's set up our Algorand development environment. So throughout this course, I'll be using primarily Visual Studio Code to write all of our code. So if you want to follow along exactly, it might be helpful to install Visual Studio Code. The next tool that we're going to be using is Docker Desktop. So if you haven't installed this already, just click this big blue download button, and it's a pretty straightforward installation. Then you'll want to make sure that you have Docker Desktop open and running in the background for these next couple of steps. The next thing we want to do is head over to github.com and find the Algorand Sandbox repository. Make sure that we copy that, and we'll clone that into our project folder that I have set up here for this course. So we'll say git clone, paste in the sandbox URL, and that will get us all of the sandbox files here. Now, the sandbox is a collection of Docker containers that sets up a local Algorand node that we can tinker around with and play around with the accounts, just try and break it, deploy some contracts to it, and just kind of get a feel for how everything works. Right, so let's create our project folder now, and you'll want to do this by cloning the skeleton repository provided with this course. You'll find the link to that in the description of this video. So we'll say git clone and just put in the repository URL there and project folder, clone into our project folder, and there we go. We have the skeleton project now in our project directory. Perfect. All right, let's do just a little bit of setup now inside of that project folder. The first thing we want to do is set up our Python virtual environment. So when we install packages, it will install them to our project folder and not to our whole machine. So to do that, we say python-m venv and put that all in the venv folder. And once that is finished, we'll need to activate our virtual environment by saying source venv scripts, I believe that's /bin if you're on a Linux system, and activate, like so. And then when our virtual environment is activated, we'll see these parentheses here, and it will tell us in our terminal. The next thing we want to do is set our Python interpreter to be the one inside of that virtual environment. So we'll use that one right there. Perfect. In case it doesn't show up for you automatically, that is venv/scripts and /python.exe, or maybe /bin. Right, so we want to use that Python interpreter. And now let's install our packages, which are shown in requirements.txt. So we'll say pip install-r requirements.txt. And that will install a variety of packages, including the Python Algorand SDK and the PyTeal library. And we'll use those to write our smart contracts later. All right. That is just about it for everything we need to do inside of this project folder. The last thing we're going to do is link our project folder and our sandbox together by making a slight modification here in our Docker Compose file. So if you go to Services, algod, and look under, just look under the algod key here, and we'll add one more key right here. We'll add a volumes key, like so, and we'll say type is bind. The source, we want to link our project folder, so that will be parent directory project, and target inside of the Docker container, I'll just say it's /data. And that will allow us to access our project files from within our sandbox Docker container once we start using that. So now that that is set up, let's start up our sandbox. So I'll switch back over to our sandbox directory here, and we'll run the /sandbox, which is our sandbox management script here. And we have a couple different commands here to manipulate our sandbox. The first one that we're going to use is sandbox up, and that will start up our collection of Docker containers. We also have sandbox down, which we'll use to finish and close up all of our Docker containers. And the last one is Sandbox Reset, which will take everything that we've done inside of our local node, erase it, and give us a clean slate to start from. So you can see here that once we've started our sandbox, it just gives us a bunch of information about what's going on here and some example commands that we can run. So for example, this sandbox goal account list, that will show us the accounts that it has set up for us inside of the local wallet. So we'll say sandbox goal account list, and it should give us pretty similar output. There we go. Just took it a little while. All right, wonderful. And you can explore around inside of our sandbox here and see what kind of stuff is going on there. But that just about does it for our development environment setup for this course.